Yes, we're back. We are back. And how to lead a client conversation. Something that most people never figure out how to do. They never figure out, hey, how do I jump in and create control? How do I get in charge, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to lead the conversation instead of the prospect leading you, which happens all the time. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check us out at Universal Accounting Center. Grow the firm. Build a new firm. We give you coaches, all the things you need to succeed. But I made this video because I feel like most accountants believe clients hire the person with the most technical knowledge. Well, they don't. If that were true, right, every CPA with 30 years of experience would have a waiting list of ideal clients, and many don't. Why? Because expertise and influence are not the same thing. One allows you to solve problems, and the other allows people to trust you enough to let you solve them. Every client consultation is a leadership exercise. Your job is to not answer questions. Your job is not to explain tax law. It's not even to sell, right? Your job is to reduce uncertainty, fear, all the problems that they're running into, right? They're uncertain if they're overpaying in taxes. They're uncertain if their books are inaccurate, right? They're uncertain if they're making good financial decisions. They don't know. That's why they need you. They don't know if they can trust advisors. They're uncertain. The brain has uncertainty, right? It's neuroscience. Uncertainty increases activity in regions associated with vigilance and perceived risk. When uncertainty rises, right, decision quality often declines because people become more cautious and difficult to maintaining the status quo, right? They always default to maintain the status quo. So that means your greatest value is not your tax knowledge. Your greatest value is your ability to organize complexity into clarity. And that's what leadership looks like. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can control the conversation, that first 30 seconds, all the way down to the final recommendation using psychology, behavioral economics, communication principles that dramatically increase trust and improve decision quality. So let's go ahead and grab a pencil and paper. Let's go over this part one. All right, part one. Before the conversation even begins, okay, that's when you gain control. But most accounts prepare for meetings by reviewing tax returns, where the best prepare by designing the client's experience. Those are completely different activities. Ask yourself these three questions before every consultation. What should the client believe by the end of this conversation? Not about your firm, but about themselves, about their business, about their opportunities, about their financial blind spots. Second, what emotion should they experience, right? Is it curiosity, relief, confidence, optimism, ownership? If your client never experiences an emotional shift, you've probably delivered information, but not transformation, right? So finally, and write this down, what decision should become obvious? Notice I didn't say what decision do I want them to make. I said what decision should become obvious. Those are different. Manipulation tries to force decisions. Leadership makes the best decisions easier to recognize, and that distinction matters because you have to understand your role isn't to convince. Again, your role is to illuminate. I've covered this in many of my videos. You have to illuminate the problem. The elite advisors don't push clients toward decisions. They remove the fog that prevents the good decisions, and that's what you have to do. The more confusion there is in a deal, the less odds of you closing it. All right, let's go to part two. The first 3 minutes determine the next 30. So what does that even mean? The opening of a consultation has one purpose, okay? It's to create cognitive authority. Authority isn't dominance. Authority is perceived competence combined with competence, right? Within moments, clients begin asking themselves questions they may never say out loud, right? Does this person actually understand my business like I do? Can they simplify something that feels complicated? Is this going to waste my time? Can I trust their judgment? And most accounts answer those questions accidentally, right? And elite advisors answer them intentionally. So one of the simplest ways to establish authority is to set the agenda, right? So let me give you a good thing to say. Hey, John, before we dive in, let me explain how I like to use our time together. First, I want to understand how your business operates today and what you're trying to accomplish over the next few years. Then we'll identify any gaps or opportunities I hear. Finally, if I believe we can help, I'll explain exactly what I'd recommend, why I'm recommending it, and what it would look like in practice. And by the end of this conversation, you'll have a clear picture of your options, whether you decide to work with us or not. Right? So if you pause, rewind, and say that word for word, you will control every deal that you're in. So look what I did. Look what happened psychologically. I reduced uncertainty. I communicated professionalism. I established structure, which that structure prevents them from interrupting you and asking you all these stupid questions. Right? And the most important thing is you become the guide. You become the authority figure, not them. You set the stage. People relax when they know someone competent is leading the process. All right? Let's go to part 3. Stop collecting information and start building a diagnosis. All right, so what do I mean by that? Well, one of the biggest mistakes accountants make is treating discovery like some kind of checklist, right? Got the revenue, the employees, the entity type, the accounting software, the current CPA. Well, those facts matter, but you're not diagnosing anything, okay? Just imagine a physician asking your height, your weight, and your birthday, and then writing a prescription without understanding your symptoms. Like, that would be insane. So you'd question their competence is what would happen. Yet accountants do the equivalent every single day. Okay, I need you to think like a doctor. This is what you need to say. Don't ask what is happening, okay? Ask why is it happening, and then ask what is this costing. So if a client says our bookkeeping is always behind, don't move on. Ask, what impact does that have on the way you run the business? If they say they aren't sure where cash is going, you ask, well, what decisions have you postponed because you didn't trust your numbers? Now you're no longer collecting data, and you're uncovering and revealing the consequences. And clients don't buy solutions because problems exist. All right? They buy because they finally understand the cost of leaving those problems unsolved. That's what they're buying. All right? It's not the problem, it's solving the problem. That's literally all it is. So you have to sell the outcome of using your services, and it relieves them of their current problem. If you can just do that, you'll probably close every deal, right? That realization has far more persuasive power than any brochure or feature list ever will. It's getting them to realize they have a problem and that we can solve these problems. All right, let's go to part 4. Control the flow of attention. What does that even mean, right? Control the flow of attention. Attention is your most valuable currency during a consultation. Look, every minute you spend discussing something unimportant is a minute not spent increasing the client's confidence. Business owners often jump between unrelated topics: taxes, payroll, hiring, software, pricing, compliance. They're thinking out loud. Your responsibility is to organize the conversation without making them feel uninterrupted. Without making them feel interrupted. So something that I would say to someone, and you need to write this down, is that's an important point, and I want to come back to it because I think it connects to something even bigger. Before we do, help me understand how you're currently making financial decisions each month. That sentence does something subtle. Okay, it acknowledges their concern without allowing the conversation to lose its direction. Leadership in a consultation isn't about talking more than the client. It's about deciding which conversations deserve attention now and which ones belong later. So clients often mistake freedom for value, and professionals know that structure creates value. Let's go to part 5. Earn the right to recommend. You have to do that first before you start making recommendations, right? Too many accountants transition from discovery to recommendation as though they were switching slides within a presentation. The recommendation should feel inevitable, not abrupt. Before you recommend anything, summarize the client's world back to them, okay? If you can describe their business more clearly than they described it themselves, you earn enormous credibility. Okay, so let me give you an example that you could actually say on one of your deals. Let me make sure I've captured everything correctly. You've built a successful business, but your books aren't consistently current. You're making decisions without complete financial visibility. That uncertainty is affecting hiring, pricing, and cash flow planning. On top of that, your current tax strategy focuses primarily on filing accurately rather than planning proactively. Is that a fair summary? Well, when they say yes, they aren't agreeing with your service, they're agreeing with the diagnosis. And once people accept the diagnosis, they're naturally more open to having a treatment plan, right? That is why the recommendation becomes a continuation of the conversation instead of a sales pitch, right? So I'll just leave you with this. If you can consistently, the accountants who win consistently, right, the best clients, they're not the best and have the best credentials, okay? They're the ones who make complexity understandable. They make business owners feel calmer, clearer, and more confident than they did an hour earlier, right? That is the true product. Tax returns can be copied, bookkeeping software can be purchased, artificial intelligence can automate routine tasks, but the ability to think critically, diagnose financial problems, guide human decisions, lead meaningful conversations, that remains one of the most valuable skills an advisor can develop. So when clients leave your consultation thinking they understand my business better than I do, right? Price becomes less important. Trust becomes stronger, and the decision to move forward feels like the next logical step. That's what great advisors do. They just don't provide accounting services. They provide clarity. And in the business, clarity is one of the most valuable products you can ever sell. So focus on the outcome, kill confusion, and I'll see you in the next video.